On the other hand, the opposite occurs for self-made millionaires. Notice that when self-made millionaires lose their money, they usually have it back within a relatively short time. Donald Trump is a good example. Trump was worth billions, lost everything, and then a couple of years later, got it all back again and more. Why does this phenomenon occur? Because even though some self-made millionaires may lose their money, they never lose the most important ingredient to their success, their millionaire mind. Of course, in the Donald case, it's his billionaire mind. Do you realize Donald Trump could never be just a millionaire? If Donald Trump had a net worth of only $1 million, how do you think he'd feel about his financial success? Most people would agree that he'd probably feel broke, like a financial failure. That's because Donald Trump's financial thermostat is set for billions, not millions. Most people's financial thermostat are set for generating thousands, not millions of dollars. Some people's financial thermostats are set for generating hundreds, not even thousands. And some people's financial thermostats are set for below zero. They're freaking freezing and they don't have a clue as to why. The reality is that most people do not reach their full potential. Most people are not successful. Research shows that 80% of individuals will never be financially free in the way they'd like to be, and 80% will never claim to be truly happy. The reason is simple. Most people are unconscious. They are a little asleep at the wheel. They work and think on a superficial level of life, based on only what they can see. They live strictly in the visible world. The roots create the fruits. Imagine a tree. Let's suppose this tree represents the tree of life. On this tree, there are fruits. In life, our fruits are called our results. We look at the fruits, our results, and we don't like them. There aren't enough of them. They're too small or they don't taste good. So what do we tend to do? Most of us put even more attention and focus on the fruits, our results. But what is it that actually creates those particular fruits? It's the seeds and the roots that create those fruits. It's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground. It's what's invisible that creates what's visible. So what does that mean? It means that if you want to change the fruits, you will first have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. Wealth principle. If you want to change the fruits, you will first have to change the roots. If you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. Of course, some say that seeing is believing. The question I have for such people is, why do you bother paying your electric bill? Although you cannot see electricity, you can certainly recognize and use its power. If you have any doubt as to whether it exists, just stick your finger in an electric socket, and I guarantee that your doubts will quickly disappear. In my experience, what you cannot see in this world is far more powerful than anything you can see. You may or may not agree with this statement, but to the extent that you do not apply this principle in your life, you must be suffering. Why? Because you are going against the laws of nature, whereby what is under the ground creates what is above the ground, where what is invisible creates what is visible. As humans, we are part of nature, not above it. Consequently, when we align with the laws of nature and work on our roots, our inner world, our life flows smoothly. When we don't, life gets rough. In every forest, on every farm, and every orchard on earth, it's what's under the ground that creates what's above the ground. That's why placing your attention on the fruits that you have already grown is futile. You cannot change the fruits that are already hanging on the tree. You can, however, change tomorrow's fruits. But to do so, you will have to dig below the ground and strengthen the roots. One of the most important things you can ever understand is that we do not live on only one plane of existence. We live in at least 4 different realms at once. These 4 quadrants are the physical world, the mental world, the emotional world, and the spiritual world. What most people will never realize is that the physical realm is merely a printout of the other 3. For example, let's suppose you've just written a letter on your computer. You hit the print key and the letter comes out of your printer. You look at your hard copy and lo and behold, you find a typo. So you take out your trusty eraser and rub out the typo. Then you hit print again and out comes the same typo. Oh my gosh, how could this be? You just erased it, so this time you get a bigger eraser and you rub even harder and longer. You even study a 300-page manual called Effective Erasing. Now you've got all the tools and knowledge you need. You're ready, you hit print, and there it is again. No way! You cry out, stunned in amazement. How could this be? What's going on here? Am I in the Twilight Zone? What's going on here is that the real problem cannot be changed in the printout, the physical world. It can only be changed in the program, the mental, emotional, and spiritual worlds. Money is a result. Wealth is a result. Health is a result. Illness is a result. Your weight is a result. We live in a world of cause and effect. Have you ever heard someone assert that a lack of money was a bit of a problem? Now hear this. A lack of money is never, ever, ever a problem. A lack of money is merely a symptom of what is going on underneath. Lack of money is the effect, but what is the root cause? It boils down to this. The only way to change your outer world is to first change your inner world. Whatever results you're getting, be they rich or poor, good or bad, positive or negative, always remember that your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner world. If things aren't going well in your outer life, it's because things aren't going well in your inner life. It's that simple. Declarations, a powerful secret for change. In my seminars, we use accelerated learning techniques that allow you to learn faster and remember more of what you learn. The key is involvement. Our approach follows from the old saying, what you hear, you forget. What you see, you remember. What you do, you understand. So I'm going to ask that every time you reach the end of a major principle in this book, you first put your hand on your heart, then make a verbal declaration, then touch your head with your index finger and make another verbal declaration. What's a declaration? It's simply a positive statement that you make emphatically out loud. Why are declarations such a valuable tool? Because everything is made of one thing, energy. All energy travels in frequencies and vibrations. Therefore, each declaration you make carries its own vibrational frequency. When you say a declaration aloud, its energy vibrates throughout the cells of your body, and by touching your body at the same time, you can feel its unique resonance. Declarations not only send a specific message to the universe, they also send a powerful message to your subconscious mind. The difference between a declaration and an affirmation is slight, but in my mind, powerful. The definition of an affirmation is a positive statement asserting that a goal you wish to achieve is already happening. The definition of a declaration is to state an official intention to undertake a particular course of action or adopt a particular status. An affirmation states that a goal is already happening. I'm not crazy about this because often when we affirm something that is not yet real, the little voice in our head usually responds with, "This isn't true, this is BS." On the other hand, a declaration is not saying something is true. It's stating that we have an intention of doing or being something. This is a position the little voice can buy because we're not stating it's true right now, but again, it's an intention for us in the future. A declaration, by definition, is also official. It is a formal statement of energy into the universe and throughout your body. Another word from the definition is important: action. You must take all the actions necessary to make your intention a reality. I recommend that you state your declarations aloud each morning and each evening. Doing your declarations while looking into a mirror will accelerate the process even more. Now, I have to admit that when I first heard of all this, I said, no way. This declaration stuff is far too hokey for me, but because I was broke at the time, I decided, what the heck, it can't hurt, and started doing them. Now, I'm rich. So, it shouldn't come as a big surprise that I believe that declarations really work. Either way, I'd rather be really hokey and really rich than really cool and really broke. How about you? That said, I invite you to place your hand on your heart and repeat the following. My inner world creates my outer world. Now touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. as a special bonus, if you go to www.millionairemindbook.com and click on the free book bonuses, we will give you a free list of all the declarations in this book presented in calligraphy in a printable format suitable for framing. What is your money blueprint and how is it formed? Whether I'm appearing on radio or television, I'm well known for making the following statement. Give me 5 minutes and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life. How? In a short conversation, I can identify what's called your money and success blueprint. Each of us has a personal money and success blueprint already embedded in our subconscious mind, and this blueprint, more than anything and everything else combined, will determine your financial destiny. What is a money blueprint? As an analogy, let's consider the blueprint for a house, which is a preset plan or design for that particular home. In the same way, your money blueprint is simply your preset program or way of being in relation to money. I want to introduce you to an extremely important formula. It determines how you create your reality and wealth. Many of the most respected teachers in the field of human potential have used this formula as a foundation for their teachings, called the process of manifestation. It goes like this. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. Your financial blueprint consists of a combination of your thoughts, feelings, and actions in the arena of money. So how is your money blueprint formed? The answer is simple. Your financial blueprint consists primarily of the information or programming you received in the past, and especially as a young child. Who were the primary sources of this programming or conditioning? For most people, the list includes parents, siblings, friends, authority figures, teachers, religious leaders, media, and your culture, to name a few. Let's take culture. Isn't it true that certain cultures have one way of thinking and dealing with money, while other cultures have a different approach? Do you think a child comes out of the womb with his or her attitudes toward money, or do you believe the child is taught how to deal with money? That's right. Every child is taught how to think about and act in relation to money. The same holds true for you, for me, for everyone. You are taught how to think and act when it comes to money. These teachings become your conditioning, which becomes automatic responses that run you for the rest of your life. Unless, of course, you intercede and revise your mind's money files, this is exactly what we are going to do in this book, and what we do for thousands of people each year on a deeper and more permanent level at the Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar. We said earlier that thoughts lead to feelings, that feelings lead to actions, that actions lead to results. So here's an interesting question. Where do your thoughts come from? Why do you think differently from the next person? Your thoughts originate from the files of information you have in the storage cabinets of your mind. So where does this information come from? It comes from your past programming. That's right. Your past conditioning determines every thought that bubbles up in your mind. That's why it's often referred to as the conditioned mind. To reflect this understanding, we can now revise our process of manifestation in the following manner. Your programming leads to your thoughts. Your thoughts lead to your feelings. Your feelings lead to your actions. Your actions lead to your results. Therefore, just as is done with a personal computer, by changing your programming, you take the first essential step to changing your results. So how are we conditioned? We are conditioned in 3 primary ways in every arena of life, including money. Verbal programming. What did you hear when you were young? Modeling. What did you see when you were young? Specific incidents. What did you experience when you were young? The 3 aspects of conditioning are important to understand, so let's go over each of them. In part 2 of this book, you will learn how to recondition yourself for wealth and success. The first influence, verbal programming. Let's begin with verbal programming. What did you hear about money, wealth, and rich people when you were growing up? Did you ever hear phrases like, money is the root of all evil? Save your money for a rainy day. Rich people are greedy. Rich people are criminals. Filthy rich. You have to work hard to make money. Money doesn't grow on trees. You can't be rich and spiritual. Money doesn't buy happiness. Money talks. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That's not for people like us. Not everyone could be rich. There's never enough. And the infamous, we can't afford it. In my household, every time I asked my father for any money, I'd hear him scream, "What am I made of? Money?" Jokingly, I'd respond, "I wish. I'll take an arm, a hand, even a finger." He never laughed once. Here's the rub. All the statements you heard about money when you were young remain in your subconscious mind as part of the blueprint that is running your financial life. Verbal conditioning is extremely powerful. For example, when my son Jesse was 3 years old, he ran over to me and excitedly said, "Daddy, let's go see the Ninja Turtle movie. It's playing near us." For the life of me, I couldn't figure out how this toddler could already be a master of geography. A couple of hours later, I got my answer in the form of a TV commercial advertising the movie, which had at the end the usual tagline, "Now playing at a theater near you." Another example of the power of verbal conditioning came at the expense of one of our Millionaire Mind seminar participants. Stephen didn't have a problem earning money. His challenge was keeping it. At the time Stephen came to the course, he was earning over $800,000 a year and had been doing so for the past 9 years. Yet, he was still barely scraping by. Somehow, he managed to spend his money, lend it, or lose it all by making poor investment decisions. Whatever the reason, his net worth was exactly zero. Stephen shared with us that when he was growing up, his mom always used to say, "Rich people are greedy. They make their money off the sweat of the poor. You should have just enough to get by. After that, you're a pig." It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what was going on inside Stephen's subconscious mind. No wonder he was broke. He was verbally conditioned by his mother to believe that rich people are greedy. Therefore, his mind linked up rich with greedy, which of course is bad. Since he didn't want to be bad subconsciously, he couldn't be rich. Stephen loved his mom and didn't want her to disapprove of him. Obviously, based on her beliefs, if he were to get rich, she wouldn't approve. Therefore, the only thing for him to do was to get rid of any extra money beyond just getting by. Otherwise, he'd be a pig. Now, you would think that in choosing between being rich and being approved of by mom or anyone else for that matter, most people would take being rich. Not a chance. The mind just doesn't work that way. Sure, riches would seem to be the logical choice. But when the subconscious mind must choose between deeply rooted emotions and logic, emotions will almost always win. Let's get back to our story. In less than 10 minutes at the course, using some extremely effective experiential techniques, Stephen's money blueprint changed dramatically. In only 2 years, he went from being broke to becoming a millionaire. At the course, Stephen began to understand that these non-supportive beliefs were his mom's, based on her past programming and not his. We then took it to a step further and helped him to create a strategy whereby he wouldn't lose his mother's approval if he got rich. It was simple.